Everything you've ever known, every person who ever lived, every civilization that ever rose and fell, every war, every discovery, every love story happened in the last 14 seconds. Pause here. Let me say that again. 14 seconds. The entire history of humanity. 14 seconds. That's what happens when you compress 13.8 billion years into a single calendar year. This film is inspired by the cosmic perspective popularized by Carl Sagan. Narration written in a style inspired by Sagan's philosophy, not affiliated with or represent Carl Sagan. January 1st, midnight, that's when it begins, not the calendar year, you know, the one that resets every 12 months, while you write checks and make resolutions and promise yourself this year will be different, but a different calendar entirely, a compression. A thought experiment proposed decades ago to make the unmeasurable measurable, to give human minds a framework for understanding what cannot truly be understood. Imagine the entire history of the universe, all 13.8 billion years of it, every star that ever burned, every galaxy that ever formed, every quantum fluctuation in the void, condensed into a single year, one calendar year, 365 days. January 1st at midnight, the Big Bang. December 31st at midnight right now, this moment, you reading these words. Let's walk through it together, slowly. Because if we move too quickly, we'll miss what this calendar is really trying to tell us. Here's the question. When does you begin? Minor, January 1st, 12:01 a.m. The universe explodes into existence. Not into space, there is no space yet, but as space, time itself begins. There is no before. The question what came before the Big Bang is meaningless in the same way that asking what's north of the North Pole is meaningless. Time, space, matter, energy, they all emerge together in an instant of incomprehensible violence and beauty. The temperature is beyond anything we have words for. Particles we don't have names for flash in and out of existence. The fundamental forces, gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces are unified, indistinguishable from one another. Then in fractions of a second the universe expands. It cools. The forces separate. Protons and neutrons form. The first atoms coalesce, hydrogen, helium, traces of lithium. For months, cosmic months representing hundreds of millions of years, there is only this, a vast expanding cloud of hydrogen and helium, glowing faintly, cooling gradually, waiting. January 10th, the first stars ignite. These are not stars like our sun. They are massive beyond comprehension, hundreds of times more massive, burning with such intensity that they exhaust their fuel in mere millions of years, mere hours on our calendar. And when they die spectacularly, supernovae. Explosions so violent they outshine entire galaxies for weeks. And in those explosions something crucial happens. Heavy elements are forged. Carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, iron, silicon, phosphorus. All the elements that will one day make up planets, oceans and you. You don't exist yet. Nothing you would recognize exists yet. But the ingredients are being prepared. Let that land. What happens when gravity gets patient? February, March, April. The universe continues to expand. Gravity begins its patient work, pulling hydrogen and helium into clumps, into clouds, into the seeds of galaxies. March 15th, the Milky Way begins to take shape, a spiral of gas and dust, slowly rotating, collapsing under its own gravity. Hundreds of billions of stars will eventually call this galaxy home, but right now, it's still forming, still chaotic, still finding its structure. The months pass, galaxies collide and merge, stars are born and die in great waves. The universe is young, turbulent, creative in ways it will never be again. May, June, July, August, for 8 months on our calendar, representing billions of actual years, the universe builds itself. Galaxies take shape, stars of different generations are born. Some live long, quiet lives, others burn bright and die young, scattering their enriched remains into space. And then in early September, something important happens. Now watch what happens. What makes a planet? September 2nd, our solar system forms. A cloud of gas and dust, the remnants of previous generations of stars begins to collapse. At the center, a new star ignites, the sun. Around it, debris swirls in a disk. Particles collide, dust grains stick together, pebbles accrete into boulders, boulders into planetesimals, planetesimals into planets. September 6th, Earth coalesces. It's not the Earth you know, it's a molten sphere, its surface a roiling ocean of liquid rock. It's bombarded constantly by asteroids and comets, violent impacts that would sterilize any life, if life existed. The atmosphere is toxic, methane, ammonia, carbon dioxide. There is no oxygen, no water on the surface, no continents, no life, but the bombardment brings gifts. Water, locked in comets, begins to accumulate. The planet cools, slowly, the surface solidifies into a thin crust. September 14th, the moon forms, likely from the debris of a collision between Earth and a Mars-sized object. The impact nearly destroys the young Earth, but from the wreckage, a companion is born. September 21st, life appears. Let that settle for a moment. Pause here. 4.5 billion years of cosmic history, 12 full months on our calendar, compressed into 9 months, and only now, late September, does the first simple cell divide in a primordial ocean somewhere on Earth. We don't know exactly how it happened. We don't know if it happened once and spread, or many times independently. But somewhere, somehow, organic molecules arranged themselves in such a way that they could make copies of themselves. One cell became two, two became four. The process once started, never stopped. Life has begun. But you would not recognize this world. The sky is not blue, it's orange, thick with methane. The oceans are not blue either, they're green with iron and organic compounds. The land is barren rock. There are no plants, no animals, no fungi. Just single cells, dividing, evolving, surviving. 3 months pass. Think about that for a second. 3 months. 3 billion years. What happens when life has nothing but time? For 3 full months, October, November, and most of December, life remains simple. Single cells, bacteria, archaea, cyanobacteria that begin to photosynthesize, exhaling oxygen as a waste product. That oxygen, toxic, poisonous to most life. But gradually, over eons, it accumulates in the atmosphere. The sky begins to change color, the oceans turn blue, the chemistry of the planet transforms. This is what patience looks like on a cosmic scale. December 5th, the first complex cells appear, cells with nuclei, with mitochondria, with the machinery to become something more than simple bacteria. Jellyfish-like creatures drifting in ancient seas, sponges anchored to rocks. Simple, yes, but revolutionary. Organisms made of many cells working together. And then, December 26th, morning, the Cambrian explosion. Suddenly, geologically speaking, which means over a period of about 20 million years, which is less than a day on this calendar, life diversifies wildly, shells form, eyes evolve, predators hunt prey. The oceans teem with bizarre forms, trilobites with compound eyes, anomalocarids with grasping appendages, hallucigenia with spines pointing in all directions. Most have no living descendants, they are experiments, evolutionary dead ends, but they are beautiful. December 27th, plants colonize the land. For the first time the continents turn green. Mosses, ferns, eventually forests. December 28th, insects take flight. The first vertebrates crawl out of the oceans. Amphibians appear. December 29th, reptiles dominate. And then dinosaurs. The dinosaurs will rule the planet for 3 days on this calendar. December 29th, 30th, and part of the 31st. 3 days that represent 165 million years. They diversify into thousands of species. Some are small as chickens, others are larger than any land animal that has lived since. They inhabit every continent. They adapt to every climate. December 30th, 6:24 a.m., an asteroid 10 kilometers wide strikes the Yucatan Peninsula. The impact releases energy equivalent to billions of nuclear bombs. A crater 180 kilometers wide forms in seconds. Tsunamis hundreds of meters high sweep across coastlines. The sky fills with debris, dust, ash, vaporized rock. The sun is blotted out. Temperatures plummet. Acid rain falls. Wildfires rage across continents. Within hours, most large land animals are dead. Within months, most plant life has collapsed. Within years, 75% of all species on Earth are extinct. Pause here. But in the ruins, small mammals, creatures that have lived in the shadows for millions of years, nocturnal, insignificant, survive. They inherit a world emptied of its former rulers. Now watch what happens next. Here's where it gets wild. The year is almost over. The universe has been expanding for 12 full months on this calendar. Stars have lived and died. Galaxies have collided and merged. And now in the final 24 hours, something entirely new is about to happen. December 31st, 10:30 a.m., the first primates appear in the fossil record. Small, tree-dwelling creatures with grasping hands and forward-facing eyes. 1:30 p.m., early hominids. Our ancestors begin to walk upright in the African savanna, freeing their hands to make tools. 11:52 p.m., Homo sapiens, anatomically modern humans emerge. 8 minutes before midnight. Let me say that again. All of human existence, from the first anatomically modern humans to this present moment, occupies 8 minutes of the cosmic year. Now pay attention to this next part. 11:59:20 p.m., the agricultural revolution begins. 40 seconds before midnight, humans stop wandering and plant seeds. Villages form, then towns, then cities. Civilization begins. 11:59:35 p.m., the pyramids are built in Egypt. 11:59:46 p.m.,
the Buddha is born. Jesus of Nazareth walks in Galilee. Muhammad receives revelation in a cave outside Mecca. 11:59:50 p.m. The Renan Empire falls. 11:59:53 p.m. The Renaissance begins. Art, science, philosophy flourish. 11:59:56 p.m. Galileo points his telescope at the moons of Jupiter. Newton describes gravity. The scientific revolution begins. 11:59:58 p.m. The Industrial Revolution. Steam engines. Factories. The modern world emerges. 11:59:59:50 light. The atomic bomb detonates over Hiroshima. 11:59:50 light p.m. Humans walk on the moon. Midnight now. This moment. Pause here. Look at that again. All of recorded history. Everything you learned in school. Every empire that rose and fell. Every war, every peace treaty. Every cathedral. Every work of art. Every scientific discovery. Every symphony. Every love letter. Every tragedy occurs in the last 14 seconds of the cosmic year. Writing was invented 7 seconds ago. The entire span of human existence. 8 minutes. Your lifetime. If you live to be 90 years old, you will have existed for approximately 0.2 seconds of cosmic time. A fraction of a heartbeat. A brief flash. And yet, in that fraction of a heartbeat, you are here, conscious, aware, capable of looking up at the night sky and asking where you came from, capable of reconstructing this calendar, capable of understanding that you are made of atoms forged in the cores of stars that died before the earth existed, that the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen in your lungs, all of it was created in stellar furnaces billions of years ago. You are quite literally made of star stuff. Let that land. For 13.8 billion years, 12 full months on this calendar, the cosmos has been unconscious. Stars burned without knowing they were burning. Galaxies collided without witnessing the collision. Planets formed and were destroyed without anyone to mourn them. There was beauty. There was complexity. There was structure on scales we can barely comprehend. But there was no one to see it. And then, in the last few seconds of the cosmic calendar, in a quiet corner of an ordinary galaxy, on an unremarkable planet orbiting an average star, something extraordinary happened. Matter arranged itself in such a way that it became aware. The universe opened its eyes. Pause here. You are not an accident. You are not a mistake. You are not insignificant. You are the method by which the cosmos knows itself. But here's the dangerous part. There's a danger in this perspective, of course. You might conclude that you don't matter, that your worries are trivial, that human concerns, love, loss, ambition, fear, are meaningless against the backdrop of cosmic time. After all, what is a human lifetime against billions of years? What is human history against the slow turning of galaxies? But consider this. For 13.8 billion years, the universe existed without meaning. It was beautiful, yes. It was vast. It was governed by elegant laws. But it had no purpose, no awareness, no capacity to appreciate its own existence. And then you happened. In the last 0.2 seconds of the cosmic year, you became conscious. You learned to ask questions. You learned to seek answers. You learned to create art, to write poetry, to compose music, to love, to grieve, to wonder. You gave the universe meaning, not the other way around. Let that sink in. What comes next? And now the real question. Here's the thing about calendars. They end. December 31st, 11:59:59 p.m. 1 second left. And then what? In cosmic terms, there is no January 1st. There is no reset. The universe doesn't begin again. It continues, expanding, cooling, gradually running down. One day, billions of years from now, long after the sun has exhausted its hydrogen and swelled into a red giant, consuming Mercury, Venus, and Earth, our planet will be gone. One day, the last star will flicker out. One day, the universe will be dark, cold, and empty. Entropy will have won. There will be no light, no heat, no structure, just isolated particles drifting through an infinite void. The cosmic calendar will end, and there will be no midnight celebration, no fireworks, just silence. Pause here. Unless consciousness spreads, unless intelligence survives, unless the beings who emerged in those final seconds of December 31st, us, or our descendants, or something we cannot yet imagine, learn to preserve what matters. Now think about this. We are 8 minutes old on the cosmic calendar, and we have already split the atom, sequenced our own genome, walked on the moon, sent machines to the edge of the solar system and beyond. What might we accomplish if we survive another 8 minutes?
Do you know what astronauts see when they look back? There's a photograph that was taken on December 24th, Apollo 8, the first crewed mission to orbit the moon, was on its fourth pass around the lunar far side when astronaut William Anders looked out his window and saw something no human had ever seen before. Earth, rising above the gray, barren lunar horizon. He grabbed his camera. He took the shot. The photograph shows a small blue and white sphere floating in the blackness of space. Fragile, isolated, alone. Later, Anders said, "We came all this way to explore the moon, and the most important thing is that we discovered the Earth." Another astronaut on that mission, Frank Borman, said, "When you're finally up at the moon looking back at Earth, all those differences and nationalistic traits are pretty well going to blend, and you're going to get a concept that maybe this really is one world, and why the hell can't we learn to live together like decent people?" That's the gift of perspective. That's what the cosmic calendar teaches. You are brief, but you are not meaningless. You are small, but you are not insignificant. You are the universe, in this tiny corner of space and time, waking up and looking at itself. Let that land. December 31st, 11:59:59 p.m. 1 second remains. The universe has taken 13.8 billion years to produce you. Stars have lived and died to make the atoms in your body. Planets have formed and been destroyed. Single cells divided in ancient oceans. Fish crawled onto land. Mammals survived an asteroid. Your ancestors stood upright and looked at the horizon and wondered what was beyond it. All of that, every single step of that incomprehensibly long chain of events, so you could be here now, reading these words, thinking these thoughts, aware of your place in the cosmos. Pause here. What will you do with that awareness? What will you do with this brief, precious flash of consciousness? The clock is ticking. Midnight approaches. 1 second left. What will you do with it?